What's up, everybody, and welcome to Reward the Fantasy. Can you believe it? It's already week 6 of the NFL season. I'm Madeline Burke. I'm about to give you the most important 10 minutes of your fantasy football week. So here's how it's all going down. I'll ask you 5 questions about football topics. If you guess the correct answer, you advance. And if you answer all 5 questions right, you'll be rewarded with a bonus question. If you get the bonus question correct, you'll automatically split our $250 reward dollar prize. And to make things even better, you'll also be placed into our lottery and have a chance to win 2 tickets to a football game of your choice. That's right. Just answer 6 questions correctly and you go into our lottery for a chance to win tickets to see your favorite team. That's amazing. But before we get to our game, the inactives just came out a moment ago, and here are some names that you should be aware of. First of all, who's in? Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill, 49ers tight end George Kittle. He's in, but he's expected to be limited. And then Texans wide receiver Kenny Stills, still dealing with that hamstring. Todd Gurley's got the quad injury. Sammy Watkins, another hamstring. And Jalen Ramsey, Jacksonville's cornerback, is not active today again as trade rumors loom. But now, let's turn to our medical expert, a renowned orthopedic surgeon and former NFL player. Doc, what's your take on Gurley?
This is Dr. Mark Addix talking a couple of running backs. Let's start with Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is out with a quad contusion. This is a guy that already has arthritis in the knee that he had an ACL on, has had a couple of other injuries. He's on a pitch count to begin with, only touching the ball about 15 times a game. That's down about 10 from his 25 that he was used to in years past. And now he's got this quad. I think they're just going to baby him. I think their plan is to have him ready for the playoffs. So anytime he's sore, he probably won't play. Alvin Kamara tweaked an ankle on Thursday. He was in walkthrough on Saturday. I expect him to go. If he goes, I think he's going to be productive, so I'm not worried about him.
All right, so Doc thinks Gurley owners should be concerned, but if you've got Kamara on your roster, you're good to go. All right, now to today's game, where we will give you everything you need to dominate the day. We'll give you our starts, our sits, our daily fantasy haymaker, our sleepers, and we'll break down one of the biggest matchups of the week that features Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead Stadium, which is where we start today's game. With question number 1, which quarterback has averaged the most points over the last 3 weeks? Is it Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, or neither? All right, well, as 2 of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL get set to meet in less than an hour, we turn to our fantasy consultant to tell us who's going to have the better fantasy day. Nate, tell the people who comes out on top, Mahomes or Watson?
Thank you so much, Madeline. Now, many people would tell you that the greatest player of football in the world right now is Patrick Mahomes. Last year's MVP, off to a sensational start again. All those fantasy owners the last 2 weeks haven't been too happy. But you see what I'm wearing here? That's right. It's the greatest footballer in the world. Croatian, my brethren, Luka Modric. So I'm going to dial in some of that greatness here for you today. Now, this is one of those, it's what do you want? Do you want to have prime rib or do you want to have king crab legs? Because that's what we're dealing with tonight. The king of all the meats, Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. Now, you may say to yourself, Watson probably has the better matchup against the Chiefs defense. But I'm going to say, let's go with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes coming off of back-to-back games without multiple passing touchdowns. Do you know, last year, did he ever have 3 games in a row without multiple passing touchdowns? No, he did not. You know what's weird? This year, the back-to-back games without multiple passing scores, weeks 4 and 5. When did it happen last year? Weeks 4 and 5. Wouldn't you know? How did he respond? Back-to-back games with over 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. I think he erupts this week. We might get Tyreek Hill back. We might not. We might get Sammy Watkins back. We might not. Does it matter? Mahomes is that good. He's giving you over 300 yards in every single game. Watson's great too, let's be honest. He gave you 5 touchdowns a week ago. He has the better matchup. But there's something that says you can't keep a good man down, and I expect Patrick Mahomes to bounce back in a major way. Remember, last time he went back-to-back games without 2 touchdowns, what did he do? 350 plus and 4. Mahomes, it is. Mahomes starts with an M. Modric starts with an M. Coincidence? I think not. Madeline also starts with an M. Back to you.
The letter of the day is M. All right, magnificent, Nate. There's another one for you. All right, Your answer for question 1 now. About half of you guys got this one right. Deshaun Watson. He's averaged more points than any other quarterback the last 3 weeks in fantasy. That's in large part due to our pick for sleeper and haymaker last week, Will Fuller, who had a career day with 217 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Now, we'll hear from our analytics and daily experts shortly. But first, let's move on to question number 2, where we focus on Sam Darnold and his healing self as he's returning after recovering from mono. Question number 2, which player was not selected ahead of Sam Darnold in the NFL draft? Baker Mayfield, Bradley Chubb, or Saquon Barkley? Now, I'll give you a little hint for this one. He was drafted by John Elway. Now, before we get to the answer, we turn to our analytics expert, Cynthia Freeland, to tell us why another Jet player is a must-start due to Sam Darnold's return. Cynthia, take it away.
Thanks, Madeline. For my 2 starts this week, I want to again focus on 2 skilled players that are outside of the top 5, because we all know you're starting DeAndre Hopkins, and are in a playable range but have been kind of either underperforming or are in bad situations. And for me right now in fantasy, there's no bigger question mark than Le'Veon Bell. I get it. This Jets offense has looked really, really bad. And this Jets O-line, even worse. Lev Bell's been hit at or behind the line of scrimmage, second most often in the NFL. Well, what changes this week against the Cowboys? 2 things. First, the return of Sam Darnold means the return of the entire playbook being available, including deep passes. The threat of deep passes will help open things up a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. And Lev Bell only needs a little bit more openness in order to be able to make that volume translate into just fantasy gold. So for me this week, Lev Bell is running back number 5 in PPR formats. Next up, wide receiver Kenny Golladay. Remember, the Lions had a bye last week, but the thing you've seen from the Lions so far this season that's different from last season is the return of deep passing. Matthew Stafford actually leads the NFL with 11.1 air yards per target. Last year, he ranked 31st in this metric. One of the biggest beneficiaries of that is Kenny Golladay. Now, I get it. Lambeau, Monday. Do I want to wait till the end of the week? I'm saying yes on this one. He falls fully in that playable range. He's a top 20 wide receiver for the week. So start Kenny Golladay and start Le'Veon Bell. Back to you.
All right, the numbers tell Cynthia that fantasy owners should be high on Golladay today at Lambeau and on Bell against the Cowboys, who let Aaron Jones torch them for 107 yards and 4 touchdowns. So look for Bell to have a big day today as Darnold returns. Which brings us to the answer to question number 2. 423 of you guys knew, including Mac1544 and Yeet, that Bradley Chubb, the player who wasn't drafted ahead of Darnold, was taken 4th overall by the Broncos in the 2018 NFL Draft. Now, Mayfield was 1st overall. Saquon Barkley, of course, went 2nd before Darnold was taken 3rd by the Jets. Now, we still have who to sit, today's daily fantasy haymaker, and our sleepers to go. But before we get to them, let's open up a little reward box, shall we? Everyone who got the first 2 questions right will now be automatically entered to win a $25 Fanatics gift card. Now, reward boxes happen every game, and you never know what we'll be giving away. But we have 2 winners right now, and it looks like the winners are... Congratulations to FJ Raff and Easy Ran. You guys are both winners of our $25 reward box gift card. Now, let's turn our attention to the Cowboys, the team who Darnold and Lev Bell play today at MetLife Stadium. Dak Prescott is coming off a tough loss to the Packers. He threw 3 interceptions, and he's hearing some questions about whether or not he deserves the big contract we hear he's going to get. So, for question 3, we focus on Dak's fantasy value. Where does Dak Prescott currently rank among fantasy quarterbacks this season? Is he in the top 5, the top 10, or the top 15? Now, you may be actually surprised by this one, but what's also been a surprise has been the sudden rise of rookie Gardner Minshew for the Jaguars. I mean, Minshew Mania is taking over the land with the mustaches and the cutoff jorts in full effect. And today, we have some fun comparing Dak to Gardner. We ask you, who do you feel will have the bigger day today? Is it Minshew against the Saints or Dak against the Jets? Now, to give us the answer, we go back to our fantasy consultant, Nate. Who do you have in this one?
All right, thanks, Madeline. Our first dilemma this week. It's Gardner Minshew mania, or Dak Prescott. Both of them have been great. Both have produced multiple touchdowns in 4 out of their 5 games. The Saints defense, while on paper you would think it was the better defense, they've actually allowed quarterbacks to produce more than 20 fantasy points and multiple scores in 4 out of their 5 games. Minshew comes into this one. 3 straight games with multiple scores. He defied the odds against the Carolina Panthers and did it again last week. I doubted him once. There's no doubt in my mind this time. So I'm going to say Minshew over Dak. I think both are good plays, though, because Dak's been phenomenal outside of the game against the Saints, coincidentally enough. But the Jets defense, they've been pretty darn good against quarterbacks. Only Tom Brady has thrown for multiple scores against them this year, and they're coming off of a bye. That means they've had 2 weeks to game plan for Kellen Moore's offense, for Dak and the Cowboys. So I think that 2 weeks, maybe it makes a big difference. I certainly did for my Browns on Monday night against the 49ers. So I'm going to say this week, Minshew mania. Ooh, yeah, it rolls on, brother. That's what I'm going with. Madeline, back to you.
All right, Zagura is going with Minshew. Again, M, letter of the day. We're keeping with the trend here. All right, the answer, though, to our question here, Dak Prescott is ranked in the top 5 of almost all fantasy formats this season, averaging over 32 points per week for the season. But over the last 3 weeks, he's averaged just over 27 points, which is just 2 points higher than Minshew. And that question right there is a fan fumble. More than half of you guys got this one wrong. Most of you guys thought, a lot of you guys thought it was the top 10. I did too, honestly, because, hey, you know what? But this is a good opportunity to use your extra lives and keep playing with us because we are halfway home. We've got our Haymaker and Sleeper picks still to come. But before we find out who the numbers say should be on the bench, we turn our attention to the defenses that await the Philadelphia Eagles in the next 5 weeks. Now, some of you may have Eagles on your roster, and that isn't good news if you look at these matchups over the next 5 weeks. So first, we're going to go with question number 4. Which of the next 3 Eagles opponents allows the most yards per game? Is it the Vikings, the Cowboys, or the Bills? Now, all of these defenses rank among the top 6 in the NFL, but one sits just outside the top 5. Now, to tell us how she assesses this week's matchup and advice on who to sit, we go back to Cynthia. Miss Freeland, enlighten us.
For my 2 sits this week, I'm going to focus on 2 wide receivers with just terrible matchups. First up, Alshon Jeffrey. The Eagles travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, and it is very likely that shutdown corner Xavier Rhodes will travel with Alshon Jeffrey. This limits the amount of times Carson Wentz will look his way, the opportunity when he does look his way, and in the red zone makes it a lot harder for Alshon to score you that touchdown that you need for fantasy purposes. So for me, beware, plan around. And by the way, little note here, the Vikings are actually sneaky bad, sneaky generous to opposing tight ends. So this actually makes Zach Ertz's potential even better. Next up, we got Emmanuel Sanders. So the Titans are coming to the Broncos. And yes, it is a home game. And yes, we've seen Sanders, and Joe Flacco actually has looked a lot better. But this is not the matchup you want. Stay away from the Tennessee defense. I don't care who's following him. I don't care who he's guarded by. None of them are good options. That secondary for the Titans is nasty. So it really is going to limit the potential for Emmanuel Sanders to be super effective in this game. For me, Emmanuel Sanders falls outside of that top 24, even that top 30 wide receiver that you really want in order to be playable. So again, to recap, sit Emmanuel Sanders, sit Alshon Jeffrey. Madeline, what do you think?
Good call, Cynthia. I'd also sit Marquez Valdes-Scantling against the Lions because Detroit has given up the 4th fewest amount of fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. And also MVS and Aaron Rodgers still haven't really found their groove. But I agree with those picks, Cynthia. Not buying Emmanuel Sanders against the Titans or Alshon Jeffrey against the Vikings, who are the first of 5 straight games the Eagles have against defenses ranked in the top 6 in yards allowed, which brings us to our answer to question number 4. The Dallas Cowboys. They have the 6th ranked defense when it comes to yards allowed. The Vikings are 4th. The Bills are 3rd. The Bears are 5th. And the Patriots are first because, of course, they are. Now, quite the gauntlet ahead for the Eagles, honestly, but 184 of you guys knew that the Dallas Cowboys were our answer. But now it's time to focus on daily fantasy for you guys. We know those of you who play daily fantasy want the haymakers, the players that will allow you to win that big money. Last week, our boy Anthony Carson had one of his biggest money weeks ever, and a big key to that was Will Fuller. Fuller had a career day with 217 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, and we center our attention around Fuller for our next question. Question number 5. Which wide receiver was taken before Fuller in the 2016 NFL Draft? Was it Josh Doctson, Laquan Treadwell, or Corey Coleman? Now, before we get to the answer, let's head to Carson's kitchen and see what the man who chose Will Fuller as his haymaker is cooking up this week. Take it away, Chef.
All right, thanks, Madeline. As always, we're back in my kitchen this week. My 3 value DFS plays of the week, followed by the low-owned haymaker play of the week. First, we're going to start off with Matt Ryan. Matty Ice gets some special spices this week as he gets the fastest-paced up-tempo play of the week against a team that is absolutely decimated on the defensive side of the ball. Next up, Malcolm Brown. This is your bingo, free square spices play of the week. Don't overthink it. Todd Gurley's out. You have to play Malcolm Brown this week or you will lose. Next up, Julio Jones. Double spice action here to pair with Matt Ryan. He gets the number 1 matchup on the board. I think he erupts this week. I think he's the number 1 play of the week. Last but not least, the low-owned haymaker play of the week, Odell Beckham Jr. This is not a hometown bias thing. This is an extra spice thing in my soup this week of DFS. Nobody's going to play Odell Beckham. The Browns looked like trash last week, but he gets the number 3 matchup on the board, and he should look to get the ball quite often this week. Thanks, Madeline, and back to you.
All right, thanks, Anthony. His DFS haymaker is Odell Beckham Jr., and despite rumors that John Dorsey may be wanting to trade Odell or may be calling it fake news, we know the wide receiver is going to want to put up some big numbers today. Now, to the answer to question number 5, and who went ahead of Fuller in the NFL Draft? The answer is Baylor's Corey Coleman. He was taken by the Browns 15th overall. Now, Fuller went 6 picks later at 21. Doctson was the 22nd pick for the Redskins, and Treadwell was the 23rd for the Vikings. But we want to remind you, the guys at DFS Karma's live stream show, where you can ask Anthony and the other analysts for lineup help, airs every Sunday at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, leading right into our show right here. So today, they're giving everyone watching 20% off of their premium NFL subscription. So just use the code RTF at checkout. But hurry up. Those DFS contests are starting, they're starting very soon, so you want to get going on this. All right, now, we're down to the end. If you've been lucky enough to answer the first 5 questions correctly, you simply have to get past our bonus round. Just answer our bonus question, aka the last question, correctly to be a winner and to qualify for our grand prize ticket lottery to win 2 free football tickets. Are you ready to win some bonus reward bucks and some tickets to a game? All right, for our bonus question, we turn to sleepers. This running back can certainly be considered a sleeper as his team was picked to win just 4 games this season and they've already won 3. So our bonus question is, which rookie has gained the most yards rushing this season? Is it David Montgomery, Kyler Murray, or Josh Jacobs? Well, we'll tell you who in a second, but first, let our expert tell us who they are picking for sleepers in Week 6. Ladies first, Cynthia, who do you have?
For my sleeper this week, I'm looking across the Atlantic. For me, the wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, Curtis Samuel, is a great sleeper for you to consider. First, I think this matchup between the Panthers and the Bucs is going to be one of the higher scoring on the entire slate. Second, if you look at the difference now that Kyle Allen is starting as opposed to a hurt Cam Newton, it's going to be different than their Week 2 matchup between these 2 divisional foes. That week, a lot of the Panthers players really didn't have good fantasy performances. What should be different now is, as we've seen from Kyle Allen, the deep passing game has opened up a lot more. This also gives opportunities for shorter underneath passes to have more of a chance for success. This means more total offense all around. Now, Curtis Samuel specifically has a good matchup because wide receivers that Tampa Bay has faced, they've allowed the most fantasy points per game in PPR formats all season long. So again, Curtis Samuel could be a great upside fantasy pick for you to consider this weekend. Nate, who do you have?
All right, Cynthia, time for our sleeper here in week 6. I like what you're doing across the pond. A couple weeks ago, I went old school. I went from somebody who was a big-time fantasy performer in the early 2010s. I'm doing it again today. Old school is cool. Adrian Peterson, that's right. He's my sleeper this week. He hasn't done anything this year, but there's a new sheriff in town. That's right, Bill Callahan. He's saying, I don't care how many yards per carry you get. I'm going to run the ball, and then I'm going to run the ball, and then I'm going to run the ball, and then guess what? Yeah, that's right. I'm going to run the ball again. Adrian Peterson's going against the Miami Dolphins. We all know they're trying to lose every single game. Did you know running backs are averaging over 150 yards per game rushing against the Dolphins? 1.25 touchdowns per game, in addition to a touchdown receiving, which is why you get a bonus sleeper, Chris Thompson, this week as well. It all adds up to over 33 fantasy points per week. That doesn't even count PPR. Every week allowed by the Dolphins, most in the NFL. So my sleeper this week is Adrian Peterson, turning back the clock to when AP was the man. Get him in your lineups, and you're going to love it this week.
Thanks, Nate and Cynthia. And that brings us to our final answer. The bonus answer is Raiders running back Josh Jacobs. He has 430 yards rushing through the first 5 weeks, over 200 more than any other rookie. So the Raiders got you. 93 of you guys got that one right. 93 out of the nearly 1,000 people that started off this game. You guys are in our lottery, and you're on your way to see if you can win 2 tickets to see your favorite team play. First of all, amazing job. You guys nailed it. Shout out to Didi Baller 1, Sarah Latt, Zuka Lolo, Roman 783, Texas Fun. You guys are all winners right now, and you guys are all in this lottery. Christy 06. Let's run the lottery, though. Are you ready to find out if you're today's actual winner? See if you get those 2 tickets. Let's run that ticket lotto. Now, all of our winners get the chance to win the ultimate prize of the week. Free football tickets to the event of their choice. If you win, and I hope you do, you will be prompted with a list of events near you to choose from. So just make sure to pick within 24 hours. Personally, I can't wait to see where you go. I want to see your pictures and your videos and your photos. You got to put those up on social media, but it looks like we've got a couple winners. So our winner is Bob Party. Congratulations on winning. All right, Bob, I want you to share pictures. I want you to share videos. I want you to tweet us. I want you to Instagram. Just make sure that you tag us when you do at Reward the Fan, because we want to be a part of this experience with you as well. All right, that does it for this Reward the Fantasy show. We hope you listen to our analysts and you dominate the day. And remember that we'll bring you a fresh edition of Reward the Fantasy every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern throughout the season. We'll come on right after the inactives are announced and give you stardom or sit-em advice that helps you set your lineups and in your league and win your winners in daily fantasy. Our team of analysts and insiders are working hard all week to bring you the very latest intel. So join us every Sunday at 12 p.m. on Reward the Fan, the most important 10 minutes of your fantasy week.